That's always a good answer.
For a while. Okay.
We
All
can
right.
say a couple of years. I mean,
Yeah, I've been on for a few years.
and
Yeah.
I can
Remember,
tell you
Long
too.
enough.
I've already had to run for election twice, and I'm only on there for 3 years, right? It's confusing. I'm like, if you can't count that as the issue.
How does that work, Wade?
I
How
got
does,
appointed, and then I had to run again for the next available time to run, and then that seat was only then for the remainder
Yeah.
of 4 years, right?
that's right.
And then we kept telling him he needed to run again, and so he just did.
That's
But you're
right.
good for a while now, Wade.
Apparently, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to do this every 2 years or so, right? Like Tim said, I'll just do it
Just for
anyway.
you. Just you.
We're ready to officially start the meeting whenever you are, Jane.
Okay, sure. And let me get her.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, and actually, I'm not there. Oh, here it is. I've got her.
I have to get my folder changed.
Yeah. So are we going to have Catherine come in now at this time or
Well, let's call the meeting to order first officially, like I'm
officially call? Okay, okay.
and then I will, I'll let Catherine in when you guys are ready. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to discuss before.
Does anybody have anything they want to discuss before we
Just
jump
might
in?
remind you, Jane, just to give them 3 or 4 minutes of time to talk about themselves and why they're interested in this job, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then,
That'd be
depending on how what you think you are able to at the end vote and actually appoint somebody tonight. You don't have to do that later. So I want to make sure you know that too.
That after, because we're going to be meeting together at after the second interview, correct?
Mhm.
We will be regathering just us. Okay.
And to discuss and mhm.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, if everyone's ready, why don't we let her in, let in Catherine in.
We'll do that.
Okay.
We'll give her a minute to connect and
Okay.
Catherine, if you're in, go ahead and unmute and
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Hi, Catherine.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
Catherine.
Good to see you all.
Hi, welcome. Welcome. Well, you are here before 4 members of the board of Clackamas Community College and our president's and Katie, your official title is what?
I'm the executive assistant.
Yes, the executive. Okay, that's what it is. And the knower of everything. So she's a good one to know. So welcome. And I thought maybe we go around and first introduce ourselves, and then after that, I'd love for you to just spend a few minutes telling us about yourself and about why you are interested in applying, and then we're going to ask you some scripted questions that that will take this will take about half an hour altogether. So, my name is Jane Reed, and I'm the current chair of the board. I represent Zone 6, which is Estacada, Colton, and Malala. And I have been on the board for about 17 and maybe 18, except 17 years. We'll call it 17 years. And so that's who I am. And we'll go to Wade. Do you want to introduce yourself? And
Hi, Catherine. My name is Wade Hathorn. I represent Zone 3, which is Gladstone, Johnson City, Oak Grove area. So, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that from the other parts that are around me as well, too. So, welcome.
Kathy Heisey.
Hi, Catherine. I'm Kathy Heisey. I represent Zone 1, which is Milwaukee and sort of the greater Oak Grove area. Good to see you here.
Joe.
Hi there, Kathy. I'm Joe Crenshaw, and I'm representing Zone 4, which is the greater Oregon City area. I've been on the board. I think I have been on the board for 2 years. I don't know the results yet of the vote, but 2
It's
years.
clear at this point.
Welcome.
And thanks to Catherine that we know, by the way,
I
right?
could
Yes.
direct you to where to look on our
Yes.
website.
Thank you. And two of our board members are not able to be with us tonight. Irene Konev, who is from the Canby area, and also Rob Wheeler from Happy Valley. They both are not able to be here tonight. But also here with us is our president, Tim Cook.
Hi, Catherine. Great to see you. Tim Cook, president, for just finishing up 7 years. Good to see you.
And Katie.
Yes, hi, Catherine. Katie Riggs, she, her pronouns, executive assistant to President Tim Cook, been at the college for about 4 years now.
Okay, so that's who we are. So we would just love to know a little bit about yourself. You have a great application, a resume that was very full, but there must be some things we don't know about you from that, or if you'd like to share, and kind of what interested you in applying.
Yeah, first, thank you, Chair Reed and the Board of Education for allowing me this opportunity. Can you all hear me okay? Is my volume good? Okay, I always have to check in these virtual meetings. My name's Catherine McMullen, and I live in Westland and have with my family since June of 2020. So I'm in Zone 5, and I currently serve as the county clerk for Clackamas County, and through that community work and getting involved, both running for office, being a parent in the district, and serving, I've really learned a lot about Clackamas Community College and what it means to the students, what it means to the community, and what it means to the businesses here in the district. I've become a huge fan. I have attended a number of community events, been to a few State of the College addresses. I have a favorite CCC sweatshirt that I wear when I walk my dog. And then I saw this opportunity to serve, and I decided that I need to do it and maybe officially put some of my advocacy and excitement for the college into an official role. I am a first-generation college student. I had parents who the only thing that they knew about college was that their three girls were going to go to college. And all three of us did. And we all, have successful careers now. And I, looking at what community college has meant to me and my family over the years, and preparing for this interview, I thought back to the community college that served the area where I grew up. And I was able to attend some biology classes that weren't offered at the high school. And then I also had the really unique opportunity as part of the community college to be part of a community jazz band. So as a high school student, I got to play alongside professional musicians in the community who have been doing it for decades. And I remember learning so much from them. I see all the different ways that we serve community as part of the community college, and I really want to be a part of that. A little bit more about me. I have a recent master's degree in public administration from Portland State University, and also have a degree in library science. And both of those things make me a very inquisitive and curious person, wanting to know more and learn more about the world and the people around me. I think that everybody should have the opportunity to be successful in their lives. And I think that the community college really does a lot of work around that. I have experience in budgeting in local government, both as a librarian and as an elections administrator, and really look to see this as an opportunity to further develop my policy, my advocacy, and kind of budgetary decision-making chops. So again, thank you for considering my application.
Hey, well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Catherine at this time, or shall we just jump in? I think we will jump into the first official question. Just a second, let me find this on my here. Okay, yes, I'll have the first question. Every aspect of the work we do at Clackamas Community College is guided by our vision, our mission, and our values. And they are: our vision is empowering individuals, strengthening communities. Our mission, as our community's college, we cultivate equitable, innovative, and responsive education. And our values, learning, equity, student success, community, and belonging. So please share with us ways in which your life has prepared you to serve an institution with these values. And you may have covered some of that already, but we could hear it again, if you haven't. So
Yeah, thank you for that question. My entire professional career, more than 20 years, has been rooted in public service with a focus on equity, education, and empowering individuals and communities. I feel like this directly aligns with CCC's mission in prioritizing transparency and accessibility and access. As county clerk, I worked to rebuild public trust through careful stewardship of our public dollars and really active, intense community engagement. And I see that also in what happens in leadership at CCC. My leadership in elections administration really is centered around inclusion for all eligible voters, expanding language access, improving voter education, and increasing civic participation. I also, as I mentioned, served as a public librarian for more than a decade. And so there I provided equitable access to information and adult learning. Both of these positions involve focusing on adult education and being an adult educator of sorts. As a librarian, I helped ways that each individual could create success in their own lives. So success not as I, the person helping, was defining it, but success as that individual was defining it. So success for themselves, for their families, and then success for their communities. So, reflecting on being a first-time college student myself, I also looked at how my mother used community colleges in kind of advancing our family. So my dad was a water well driller, and they had a business. And so my mom's main role was raising the family, but she also did the books for the business. And as the business grew, um, it was more complicated, but she was still doing the books. And I remember her signing up for a community college course in accounting so that she could make sure she was doing them accurately for the business as it grew. And I remember how proud she was about getting through these tough classes and kind of see that as another kind of community college student that CCC supports. Students with a specific goal, wanting to learn a specific thing, not necessarily transferring to a four-year degree or even an associate's. So I think that's important, and I saw that in my mom's work. Now I'm a parent myself. My oldest has actually attended some community college coursework with CCC through the local high school program. And like many other students in this area, it set him up to gain college credit while still in high school and save a little bit of money on his tuition while he's pursuing a four-year degree. My youngest child is disabled and she receives special education services. And I'm really looking forward to a time that she might benefit from some of the partnerships that CCC has with transition programs. Because I know her and other disabled students like her can transition to a college environment, learn independent living, and then be successful in the workforce through some of the programs that the college has with local school districts. I believe that these experiences in my life and career give me kind of a deep understanding of what equity and inclusion work and really listening to all voices means, both in individual lives and as a community. I want to demonstrate that commitment to learning for all, to equity, to student success, and then community building and belonging at the college. And I think it aligns very well with my personal and professional life.
thank you. Joe, do you want to do the next question?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Catherine, for being here today. In your view, what are the primary challenges confronting the college district presently? How do you envision the board contributing to the resolution of these challenges? And what role do you see the administration playing in addressing these challenges?
So I think Clackamas Community College, like many community colleges, faces some unique challenges in our unique times. There's been changing enrollment and changing student needs, especially when we look at our underserved populations. There's issues with basic needs for students, housing insecurity, food insecurity, and then maintaining their financial security. And that's something that students are more and more looking to colleges to provide support on. Things that I know CCC does with open pantries and other support like that. District-wise, we also have to work on maintaining our financial sustainability and fiscal security with the changing needs. We just passed a bond, and that's fantastic news, but we have to maintain and be good stewards of that taxpayer dollars throughout its 10-year period. And then we also look at what's happened, what feels like in the distant past sometimes, but not, with the pandemic and post-pandemic academic recovery. Anyone who was a parent during that time knows that education changed dramatically and not always for the better. And I do believe I had learned that 2024 was the fall enrollment where CCC caught up to its pre-pandemic numbers. So we're now on track again after lowering of attendance numbers during the pandemic. And I believe that it's the board's role to lead through these changes with policy and with vision, making sure that our strategic priorities reflect the needs of the students and the needs of the region. And specifically as a board member, these are things that I would do. I would show up. I've established myself as a big fan of the college, and I do show up. I would continue to show up. I attend community events and support student learning, find ways to engage student body and local governance through temporary employment, through working with local employers for internships and learning different skills and different jobs, attending different community events and really being present and advocate for the college. As a board member, I would listen. That's just as important as showing up. I'm a curious person and I like to ask questions to learn. And I think listening is one of the most important skills you can have working with stakeholders and with our students. I feel like as a board member, it's important to be able to be approachable with issues as they come up, but also find it just be part of your role to find resources. So I want to support the administration, the teachers, and importantly, the students so they can be successful. Ultimately, my role will be to get out of the way after looking for resources or providing support. And also importantly, we want to create partnerships with our local nonprofits, with local businesses, with other local jurisdictions, because we can't do all this alone. An example of a really key partnership that I got to observe firsthand, actually it was last February, so February of 24 during the ice storm, Clackamas Community College agreed to be a shelter for people who were experiencing houselessness who didn't have anywhere to go during the ice storm. And as a county employee, I was able to volunteer to work at the shelter. And so while my office was closed, I was able to be there to provide support, to kind of see firsthand how the college, the county, and the nonprofits were working together to provide critical support to community in need at that time. And that's just kind of one of the acute examples of community partnerships I see all the time with the college. And then I think it's really important that the college maintains the scope. So we have to understand what it is and what isn't within the scope of CCC's mission. So we exist to empower students, and this includes all different kinds of students, academic and transfer students who are transferring to that four-year college or getting a specific degree to career and technical students who are working towards a particular career, and then our community education students who may take one class or may take the same class over and over again over the years as a build of networking and community building. So I just think those are all really important ways to respond to some of our issues of the time. Would love to answer any further questions about that if you have specific challenges that you're dealing with right now too.
Thanks, Catherine. I think I have the next
Thank you.
question.
You do. Yes, you do, Kathy.
It's a simple one. Recognizing that students come from many different backgrounds and identities, how would you, as a board member, contribute to a culture of student success?
Yeah, I love this question because I feel like that would be the role of the board member, is really working to contribute to the student's success, no matter who the student is, no matter what their background is. I would advocate for policies and programs that see each student as an individual with specific needs and specific strengths. At CCC, we would embrace student diversity as an opportunity and not as a challenge. So my work currently, whether implementing multilingual voter pamphlets, creating library resources for Spanish-speaking families, or advocating for equitable access to local government, has really centered over the years on removing barriers and designing systems that serve each individual, serve the whole person. And that means supporting wraparound services at the college, addressing and acknowledging basic needs, which we are doing a great job of, supporting culturally relevant curriculum and accessible languages. I love the classes for automotive repair that's delivered in Spanish. And then we want that learning environment where every student feels seen, is valued, and has that sense of belonging. I would use my experience with research and data-informed decision-making, my experience with community building and stakeholder engagement to ensure that student voices, particularly those from marginalized communities and students of color and different economic backgrounds, really guide our strategies for success. So they show us or tell us, or we hear what they need to be successful, and we're guiding so that we're providing that. What I've learned as a parent of a student with this disability is that when we make accommodations for a student who has a disability, we're making that learning environment generally better for every student in the classroom. And there are things that I've seen teachers do for my child that have made the classroom a better environment for everyone that was in it, whether it was repeating things, providing something written as well as verbally, or just simply saying, welcome, I'm so glad you're here, as everyone comes in the door. But those are things that are really important at every level of learning.
Okay. Thank you, Wade.
Yeah, so question number 4, how would you approach a scenario where you disagree with the board's stance as an individual board member? And additionally, how would you handle a situation if a disgruntled constituent approached you with concerns regarding a college issue or an employee? So they're kind of two separate but vitally important decisions that or roles the board has to play, right? So
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think if you don't disagree sometimes, then everyone's not sharing how they feel or what their point of view is. I approach disagreement, whether it's publicly or privately, with the respect and integrity and professionalism for the person that I'm and people that I'm working with. So if I were to hold a different view from the board as a whole, or we had multiple different views on an issue that we were discussing, I would voice my thoughts respectfully during deliberation. I want to share that during a public meeting. I'd share any backing as to why I'm feeling that way. I would share the data, lived experience, or if there were specific community needs for those reasons. I really would want to, though, also listen to make sure I'm understanding the points of view and taking in new information during that deliberation period. So I'm not coming into a meeting already having made a decision concretely and not able to change that decision based on new information or updated information. I have found that when disagreements can happen constructively, it's a sign of a good working relationship among board members or among anyone that's on a team. I also think that when we're at those tricky, difficult points, it's a good practice to go back to the community college's shared vision and mission, either internally or even reading it aloud together whenever we're trying to make a difficult decision. I mean, like, okay, well, we're here for the students. What would benefit the students in this particular role or this particular decision? I want to also state that it's important to present a united front once a decision has been made. It's important for the board's credibility, for institutional stability, and really for public trust, that they know that the board has deliberated publicly, made these decisions, how to vote, and then everyone as a whole is supporting that decision moving forward. and that we are supporting the shared mission and vision of the college and don't have individual needs that we're acting on. That also, when flip side, working directly with a constituent. I have a lot of experience working with residents that live in the Clackamas Community College District, as well as just in my time as a public librarian. I make a point of listening, being very open and respectful, and really spent a lot of my career helping people navigate complex government systems, from elections to government services. And some of the systems in the community college are also complex, and there can be some misunderstanding in how something works and just, feelings being had rather than the support needed to move through that complex system. I think it's really important that people are heard. And it's also really important that as a board member that I'm not acting alone, but actually referring them to the appropriate channels within the school or within the departments. That way there can be clear boundaries about what my role is as a board member and what someone else's role would be as a guidance counselor or as one of the professors or admissions. I think that's important for preserving the fairness and respect across the board. That way someone doesn't receive a different kind of treatment from me than someone else might receive who didn't reach out to me. Whenever it comes to listening to people, I think about my experience as a public librarian. And I really, over the years, practiced that art of the reference interview. And that's when you're really listening to try to understand what the person who's sharing with you, what it is that their expressed need is, how they think telling you about it is going to get them to that point, and then providing that warm referral to a resource. I would be told that librarians know everything, but really librarians don't know a lot. They actually just know how to access that information or how to make that warm referral to a social service. And so really the primary role is to listen, understand the need and the issue, and then provide access to the resources. Again, that comes back to understanding what the issue is and then understanding where the resources are and providing that warm referral.
Well, thank you. Let me get back to this page here. Very thoughtful responses, may I say, Catherine. It was a pleasure hearing your thought process on a lot of these. So do you have any questions for us?
I do, if we have a little bit of time.
We
I'm not
do.
sure.
We have about,
Okay.
what, 10 minutes or 8 minutes maybe?
Okay.
Mhm.
So I was wondering what the most important qualities or like the experience gaps that exist within the board and what you're looking for with this appointment.
You want to go first? I would say that, look, the most important thing, in my opinion, right, when it comes down to it, is that every one of these people that are on this board are very different people in their personal lives, right? Very, very different people from their professional lives as well. But one thing is very clear. We understand what the purpose of this board is. This purpose of this board is really to help guide, protect really the mission and values of this institution. And that we all believe in that. It's a very empowering thing to go to a graduation and see what you're really doing. You see people's lives change that you would have never expected that these people would show up, and next thing you know, there's their entire family and the first generation of graduates, right? And the joy and pleasure that's brought to that, but really the lifelong change that you can see that's made in that purpose is really important. And we all understand that piece of it, right? So we are really part of that, I think. I think we all understand that. We know that it's challenging now in today's environment. Money is always an issue, things are always an issue. But there's one thing that we're here for. It's here to change the lives of people. I think we all believe in that.
I'm not going to try and improve on that.
And
Can I?
oh yes, Joe.
Yeah, well, I think that you talked about, Catherine, about you being a first generation college student. And I think a lot of our young people at the school have the same experiences going on. A lot of them are first generations. And I think this board has a lot of different experiences. Some of us are are old ladies and some of us are very young. And some of us do really good things with our students and being able to be advocates for them. And I think that's one thing that each and every one of us on this board is very interested in doing. And I think that we learn from each other and we know where the strengths are. We know where we can ask questions of each other. And we are a formidable team. And I think that is one of the things that we care about this school and we care about our students. That's our first priority.
I don't know if I can add much to what is already said, except for that I think we do a good job. We all really like and respect each other, which is wonderful. And we also uh we come from a lot of different worlds in a way, but I think we all, as everyone has said, we all have that in the center part is the vision of the college, and so it's a good board, I'll tell you that. Any other questions for um
I have one more if there's
yes,
time.
okay.
So I had the opportunity to listen to the budget conversations over the last month,
Oh,
tuning in on YouTube and really appreciate the considered thought that went into it. And I always see a budget as like setting the priorities for the vision and the mission. And I was wondering if there was something that you were particularly proud of moving through a difficult budget session. That you see as kind of aligning with the vision and the mission for the college?
Um, you know, there was a lot in those budget sessions. I was proud of the community for showing up and advocating for itself. I think that's a powerful thing, and I'm really grateful when people show up to engage on something that can feel so tedious and alienating as a budget conversation. Um, I felt like um, we we had an opportunity to be thoughtful about providing direction to staff as the board and to be clear that we see that we have an opportunity here to get to where we're doing a little bit of a course correction and ensuring that going forward we aren't doing any sort of deficit spending and that we're planning for frankly, some leaner years, in all likelihood. And I think that we did a good job of saying that in our budget process, we want to continue to stay student focused and stay focused on making choices that keep this a low cost, as low as possible cost opportunity for transformative experiences for people who are really seeking them. And it's so hard because so many of these decisions impact students in so many different ways. And it is a big responsibility that we hold to really consider all of the different facets of what it means to make good decisions for students. And I felt like we did a good job of that in a hard time.
Sad that, it's always challenging to face a reduction essentially, right? But the reality is that this board does a very good job, I'll just say this in my opinion, right? Doing its job. And that job oftentimes is to stay out of the way of operations. Well, they have a very difficult challenge to do, right? Our job is to set policy, help guide the direction of the community college, and then make sure that it happens. And that's really Tim's job, right? That we only have one staff person working for us, right? And that's the president of the university, right? We don't get into telling departments how to run. We don't do that. There are a lot of community colleges that they're dismantling themselves, they're eating themselves inside of each other on the boards or trying to change things about what they do. We don't do that. And that's something that I think I really value. We don't cross that line, right? And Tim is very respectable of our position as well too. He brings us the information that we need to make those decisions, and then we do them. And we do, even the difficult ones very well together, I think, even though they're not much fun sometimes. So, right.
You're
I
muted,
see that
Jane.
I see that Irene has joined us, and I don't.
I'm so sorry. I was stuck in traffic and couldn't connect from my phone. My
Oh.
deepest apologies.
Okay. Well, we're finishing up this interview with Catherine now, and I'm sorry you weren't able to hear it, but um, uh, but what she submitted, I think, is very thorough and comprehensive and really backed up by everything you said, Catherine. So I guess if there aren't any other questions, we will say goodnight to you, and we will get back to you. I'm not quite sure I'm not quite sure when. Very soon. Very
Well,
soon.
I don't want to hesitate to thank you all for your time this evening, but also your time that you step up to volunteer. I know better than most that this is a volunteer position that you put yourself out there for and that you have a commitment to serve. So thank you for doing that work.
Thank you for recognizing that. That was good too. Okay,
Mm.
good. Well,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Okay, so Ryan is here. So I don't know if you guys are ready or
Just 1 minute. Irene, do you have anything that you want to before we jump in here?
No, I just wanted to say her application looked really, really amazing, and I have no questions. I trust that the interview went well, and I know that you will make you will speak up when it's time to decide. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah.
When you're settling in, you might notice that we have a question outlined for you if you have those in front of you. So if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And which
Thank
one
you.
is that one for her?
Number
Two.
3.
Number 3? Okay. So, yeah. I don't have that. I mean, I have the questions, but I don't have them labeled. I just had my own little list here. So you will be, so it's Jane, Joe, Irene, Wade, and Kathy. All right, shall we bring in
And
Ryan.
Ingersoll.
And
yes, Ryan. Okay.
Ingersoll.
Mhm. Hi.
Hi there.
Hi, Ryan. Welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. You see before you on the screen here, the Clackamas Community, or a number of members of the Clackamas Community College Board of Education, or Board of Directors. And I'll begin by introducing myself. I'm Jane, and then we'll kind of go around and let you know who you have before you here. So my name is Jane Reed, and I am the board chair this year, and I represent Zone 6, which is Estacada, Colton, and Malala. And I have been on the board for a long time, like about 17 years, or maybe 18 years. We're going back and forth there. So. And I just wanted to welcome you, and I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that you chose to apply for this. So, Wade, do you want to jump in next?
My name is Wade Hathorn. I represent Zone 3, and that is largely Oak Grove, Gladstone, Johnson City, those areas and parts in between, essentially, right? I've been on the board for, I think, going on about 4 years now. So.
And Kathy?
Hi, Ryan. I'm Kathy Heisey. I represent Zone 1, which is Milwaukee and all of the parts of Oak Grove that Wade doesn't represent. Good to have you here.
Joe?
Hi, Ryan. I'm Joe Crenshaw, and I'm representing Zone 4, which is all of the greater city of Oregon City.
Yeah, let's push ahead.
And Irene?
hello, Ryan. My name is Irene Konev, and I represent Zone 7, which is Canby, Charbonneau, and parts of Wilsonville, as well as rural outlying Clackamas County. Thank you. for applying.
And President Cook?
Good evening, Ryan. I'm Tim Cook. I'm the president of the college, and I'm just finishing up my 7th year. Thank you very much for your interest in being on the board.
And Katie Riggs?
Hi, Ryan. I'm the executive of the president at Clackamas Community College. I have been here for about 4 years, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
Great. So we
Thanks,
have
everybody.
good, yes, and we're thinking before we jump right into those questions that you might want to take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you were interested in applying for this position, and then we'll go through and on the questions that had been sent to you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, it's fun to learn about the areas that some of the zones that you serve. I was born in Milwaukee and spent most of my life there. Short stint in in Gresham, and then moved back to Gladstone, and then moved to Seattle. So I've pretty much been in Clackamas County for most of my life, except for when I wasn't living in Oregon. So it's kind of cool to see you representing those areas. So yeah, my name's Ryan Ingersoll. I currently live in Wilsonville. I moved back to Oregon in 2017 for a job from Seattle. I've been in higher education for 2 decades, working in a number of institutions in the Pacific Northwest and in Minnesota. Currently, I work in a higher ed adjacent nonprofit foundation that supports college students through scholarships and mentoring. So that's what I do for my professional work, which is related to the work that Clackamas County or Clackamas Community College does. And then why did I want to get involved? Well, last year I put my name in to get involved in a committee in Westland Wilsonville School District, their long range planning committee / bond oversight. And I've been supporting that work. We're getting ready to go up for a bond. And that was sort of my first attempt to sort of get involved more in public service outside of things with my kids directly. Like today, I was coaching t-ball. So thanks for being for letting me come in a little bit later. That's where I was coming from. And so when I heard about this opportunity, I was thinking, oh, like I love higher ed. It's where I've spent my entire career. It was significantly impactful on my life. And this could be a way that I could give back to my community with something that I know a little bit more about than I do school district work. That's not necessarily my field of expertise. So that's why I was like, oh, I want to put my name in and see where this goes and see if this is an opportunity to serve at this time.
Jane, you're
Dave,
muted.
you're muted.
Yeah.
I am so sorry. How many years will it take? How many years will it take to learn to unmute oneself? I don't know. Let me get to the questions here too, and I guess I'll start with the first one. So every aspect of the work we do at Clackamas Community College is guided by our vision, our mission, and our values. Our vision is empowering individuals and strengthening communities. Our mission, as our community's college, we cultivate equitable, innovative, and responsive education. And our values are learning, equity, student success, community, and belonging. So please share with us the ways in which your life has prepared you to serve an institution with these challenges.
Yeah. That's right. I think one of the things that I always really appreciate hearing, because it's how I work in my work, but is being mission centric. We're here guided around a mission, vision, and values. And we can do a wide variety of different things as we support the work of the institution, but holding those as core is really important. It's sort of the guidepost that we're all heading to. So I appreciate that this was the first question. So for me, I think there were a few things in particular that excited me about what CCC is doing and the potential to be on this role. The first one for me is around student success. So I worked in libraries for most of my time in higher ed, including being a dean of libraries for a number of years. And so I always like libraries as a really good example of student success in the sense that we have a lot of agency and autonomy to do unique things and rise to challenges. We do have curriculum aspects, but we also have a lot of opportunities to sort of do things differently. And so some examples of my work in that have included providing more access to resources to students to reduce the cost and the barriers to textbooks, for example, doing a lot of work around open educational resources. CCC is a part of Orbis Cascade Alliance, and so that's almost all the institutions I've worked in have been a part of that. And so that alliance, that consortium, working across 38 different academic libraries in the Pacific Northwest, all centered on how do we help our students and our faculty sort of move forward in the work that they're doing, regardless if they're at doing a 2-year degree, they're just coming in to take a few classes, 4-year degree, or going on for a doctoral program, sort of adjusting to that. So that's a big piece. I think connected to that as well for me is mentoring and making those connections. So how do we help provide students with other connections within the school of people that can help them along the way, whether that's just a trusted person to talk to, a person in the field that they're interested in going into or that they're currently working in, and just the teachers and faculty as well, serving as mentors. So that student success thing is where I get most excited about. And then connected to that is around equity, and how the question I always ask myself is how do we remove barriers to education and within the educational system that weren't always built for the people that we currently serve and that we need to serve in the future. So that's really important to me. In some ways that my experience have done that, particularly around the areas of innovation and responsive education, thinking about universal design for learning. So how do we think about the educational learning environment, the teaching environment, help adapt to students and the different needs that they do have, but also recognizing that even if a student doesn't have those presented needs, the ways that we teach and engage with students can be beneficial to all students. And then also thinking about who we have around the table in the equity conversation. So I'm a trained search advocate, which is a program that came out of Oregon State University, which looked at implicit and explicit bias in the hiring process and the onboarding process. So I've brought that into a number of my teams that I've overseen. So thinking about who we have at the table, the cultures that we set as a staff or a faculty team, and then how that sort of filters down to the learning environment as a whole. So again, who is this educational environment for and how can we be more responsive to their needs and adapt sort of our culture to kind of meet their needs where they're at. So those were out of the mission, vision, values, those were the ones that I highlighted in particular from my past experience.
Thank you. Thank you. Joe, do you have the next question?
Yes, I do. Ryan, in your view, what are the primary challenges confronting the college district presently? How do you envision the board contributing to the resolution of these challenges? And what role do you see administration playing in addressing them?
I think there are a number of challenges that I see in particular. Some of them mostly center around the cost of education, both sort of the cost of delivering that education, so the pressure on the budget for the college, and the cost of faculty and teachers and mentors and support systems, and even library resources, for example, which cost a lot of money. So when we think about the resources that we provide to do the education, that's a significant piece of that. And thinking about when we're in environments where we have to trim budgets and sometimes we have to cut things that we don't want to cut. Unfortunately or fortunately, I've been a part of that a lot. So I have a lot of experience in those really difficult conversations. The school district I'm in right now is facing that significantly right now. So that's one, I think, is a big piece for the institution itself. But related to that is then also the students as well, the cost for them, and that's for the access. So as they think about getting access to the education, but then also the opportunity costs and the time away for them to do that education. What does that mean for their lives if they're balancing multiple jobs, caring for family members, whether they're younger family members or older family members, having adjustments to their schedule? That's a big piece. But then also food insecurity and housing insecurity as well. So also being responsive to those challenges, which are significant. And I think those challenges are only going to increase in our current environment. And so I think a lot about how do we be innovative in that space. And the reality is cuts will have to happen. And those are going to be hard decisions. And so how we do those with wisdom and with community support and buy-in as much as we can, recognizing that that's painful. I think related to that, some of the challenges that I think a lot about are the need to expand skills and workforce training. In particular, I think artificial intelligence or AI is and will have a massive impact and significantly change the needs today and future needs of the workforce. And so I'm thinking a lot about how do we adapt and prepare our communities for jobs that don't yet exist and jobs that we can't even imagine will exist in the future. And how do we be agile in that to sort of think about doing things creatively, maybe more quickly than higher ed has typically done, so that we can sort of address those needs and prepare our communities of all ages and all skill levels to sort of level up, so to speak. So I think those are the challenges that I see. With a little bit, I think I would elaborate sort of how would the board contribute and then the administration contribute. I think a big one is being open-minded and being attuned to what is going on beyond just the district, but in the state and the country as well. As somebody who spent a lot of time in higher ed, I look to my peers and have a lot of conversations and other institutions to learn from them what went well, what didn't go well, who's sort of ahead of the curve and leading those conversations. Because even if they don't go well, we can still glean ideas from them. So I think that collaborative nature. I think it's always funny when you think about higher ed because, well, I don't know. They think of OSU versus the Oregon Ducks, right? It's like competition in some sense of the sports. But in my spaces, there's always been a ton of collaboration and working across all of these different types of institutions. I think we'll need to do that more. So does the administration and the leaders of the institution, but then also for the board, kind of maybe provoking that or poking that or allowing for that. An idea of like a sandbox is like, do we have space to experiment and sort of think about these challenges and then give permission where we need to give permission or remove barriers that have been there. In some sense, like, why does this barrier exist? Do we still need this barrier? Maybe it was important 15 years ago, but maybe today is an opportunity to say we can be a little more flexible.
Thank you.
I'm next, I think.
Yes, I think you are.
So,
Yes.
so Ryan, recognizing that students come from different backgrounds and identities, how would you, as a board member, contribute to a culture of student success?
Yeah, I think some of the ways that I approach my work, and I would in this work as well, is seeking to understand and learn from and with students who are different from my experience, even in background. I think that's always listening, which then always begs the question to say who wasn't invited into the conversation in the first place. So who do we not have around the table that we're not hearing, that we need to make sure that we have an opportunity to hear. And invite them and let them know they're a part of it. It's their table too. And I think to do that, for me, it's always about centering the student experience. For me, education is about the student. Higher ed's about the student. We're here for the student. And that's always been my focus. And sometimes we need to do things differently because of the student. And so that's another piece of like having that sort of with a mission, vision, and values, but also the centering of the student is kind of that other piece for me. So one of the things I really like about the boardroom in the Wilsonville School District, and there's a bunch of pictures of students with their mission statement all over the back wall. And whenever we have meetings in there, it's always kind of like, oh yeah, that's why we're doing this work, is for these students who all come from different backgrounds and experiences. And then I think as well, like I have a unique background to myself. And so thinking about how I was adopted, I was in the Oregon foster care system. And so I think I have those experiences. It's not something I normally talk about, but it's not something you would always know. And so thinking about what are those other experiences of people that we have around the table that we might not know that about them, but we can still glean from them and think about how their experience might be different than our own. So I think that's also a really important thing, is sometimes that's going a little bit deeper, and sometimes we're able to cultivate trust and honesty by building deep relationships with people to learn more about their story and where they come from. Then we can kind of take that into the larger conversation.
Thank you.
I think it's Wade next.
There, I'm like Jane, I have to get off my mute there, right? Thank you, right. That was the first step to interacting online, so thank you for that pause, Ryan. Let me give me your fourth question, right? So this is really about sort of board governance and in its actions. How would you approach a scenario where you disagree with the board's stance as an individual board member? And maybe on top of that, one of our jobs also is to additionally, you know, deal with potential situations of a complaint or disgruntled constituent that brings concerns forward about a college issue or an employee. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think boards are always fun and they're always interesting. I am an executive director and I have a board made up of 10 different individuals who sort of support that work and the differing opinions. And then working with the school board as well currently. So my approach is when the board, so the way I approach it is like good governance is important to me. We usually have good governance documents that guide that work and being informed by those and agreeing to those and enforcing those and following those are really important. So for me, usually when the board makes a decision, and so if I was on the board of education and the board makes a decision that I disagree with, when the decision has been made, the decision has been made. And that's the part where I go back to say, we're here, we're centering the mission, vision, and values, we're centering the student, and we're working forward together for the next thing that we have to tackle as a team. I think that's really important to show that. I think before we get to that point, having conversations and having dialogue is really important to get to that point. And sometimes, yeah, the decisions will not be unanimous and sometimes it will be controversial. But I think what's really important is sort of how we work together as a team moving forward and representing our constituents. Obviously, if I disagree, I mean, if it was extreme and it was an extreme disagreement, we would think about what that means. But I think the process is going to be really important in that and following that. So I tend to like processes and following those processes and making sure that we're responding the way that we need to. So disgruntled constituent. So one of the things that I can think about, I've never been in public service before, except for when I stepped into the long range planning committee a year ago, which has been new to me, working in private institutions my whole life of, meetings being recorded and people sending me emails and having those conversations. And that's been new. And so one of the things that happened in the long range planning committee is we were thinking about as we were updating the plan. I'm giving an example. So as we were updating the plan and then our committee, we got some enrollment numbers that were looking on a downward trend for a number of schools. And so we asked the question was, do we believe the community will support a bond if these schools are significantly below enrollment and that trend is declining? And so we asked that question. And so we wanted to hear what the community had to say. So we developed a small schools task force to ask these questions, engage constituents in those communities. And what was funny was what we didn't expect was the large volume of emails and conversations that sparked, which is clear because when you start to talk about education environments and particularly primary schools and changes, if they may or may not close, that rightfully so causes a lot of anxiety. I have 2 kids in primary school, so I get it. And so how did I handle those? So one, I got a lot of emails. And so a big piece was listening and particularly paying attention to things that maybe I didn't notice before or I didn't understand before. I think, and then also like informing sort of and providing information and context where it made sense, not just like argument sense, but like, here's kind of the direction, here's where we're going. And then also sort of providing additional feedback. So receiving the feedback and then thinking about how do we improve the process as a committee with our communication and our decision making. So one of the things in particular that I did in that process was making sure that our committee, we were really focused on the scope and the work of what our committee was doing. So not to expand it to be a much broader conversation around closing schools, for example. That was never the intention of that committee, of that task force, or what the committee's role and responsibility was. So really staying focused on the question that we originally asked, but engaging the constituents. I mean, these are my neighbors, right? Like these are people who go to the same school or within the schools, and also sparking conversation. And one of the things that I appreciated in that process is while people were disgruntled and angry and upset, as would make sense, was the level of engagement like significantly increased. We had a number of opportunities to engage people, and there's a foundation that's starting back up. Like there's all this like good stuff that's come up for it. Now, as we think about our learnings from that whole situation that we might take into the future if we engage this question again, I mean, the committee made a recommendation, the board made a decision, we're moving forward. There's a lot to learn from that experience of how we can communicate even better, particularly across the whole district and not just one part of the district. So I think for me, that's kind of my approach. That was sort of, I learned in that, but I took what I've learned and modeled. I worked in tech support for a long time as well. And so, when somebody's document goes missing, like their final or a paper or a dissertation or a research, people get angry, right? And it's not always at you, but it's like, how do you provide like a calm experience that don't tell them to calm down, but like, okay, we're going to try our best. We're going to work through this and recognize like, yeah, I would be upset too if my final disappeared. I mean, my wife lost her master's thesis and I get it. So like, how do you like model what you want? And I'll be honest, I'm learning that with my kids as well. Like when they're having a meltdown, how do I model how I want them to show up and be, rather than sort of mirroring back what they're doing, because that doesn't really usually go very well. So that's how I tend to approach those circumstances. And I'm always learning, and I will continue to learn.
Thanks, Ryan. I have the last question, and it's just, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I think a number of you who shared how many years you've been on the board have been on the board for a while, and I would love to know why you're still on the board, why you're on the board, why do you continue to serve or go back up for election? What excites you and keeps you motivated to stay in this role?
Well, I'm the longest one, so I'll jump in here first. And I think for me, it is just continuing to see the role that this college plays in my community and in the town that I live in and in our broader community, how agile it is, how it changes, how what it means to so many different kinds of people, and it and I don't know, when it always comes time to think about it again, there isn't much of a question in my mind, unless, is there somebody else who would be better? And of course there isn't. No, often there probably is, but I'm the one who shows up and runs unopposed. So but it's a wonderful institution filled with thoughtful, kind, good people, and that is changed so much over the years that I have been with it. And to me, it's like an honor to be a small part of that. So that's me. Anyone else? Wade, you're unmuted.
I could go on forever about this particular topic, but I'll just say something very, very brief about this, right? There is nothing more empowering than to give an opportunity for someone to change their life through education, right? I used to be a professor. I know the power of this. And now to return to this as part of my life again is nothing short of being, literally on earth in heaven, to be honest, for me, right?
And Jane?
Joe?
Well, I haven't been around as long as Wade and Jane, but this is my second year. And the reason why I really wanted to become a member of the board, because I started out in community college and I know the things that are taking place. It changes your life, it changes your behavior, it changes what you really want to do. And I really wanted to be able to give back. And that's the reason why I'm on. And if I come up again and I win again, I'm going to come back again. That's the reason why I'm here, Ryan.
Thank you, Joe. And Irene, or both you and Kathy are, well,
I was just going to note that we just have about 2 or 3 more minutes.
okay. And Irene, did you want to respond to that? I see that you're.
I'll just go quick. I think that community colleges are the trajectory to a much more fulfilling life and much more prosperity. And as a mom who has raised 7 children, I know the impact that it has on youth, young people, just to even think about college. And I know how expensive it has become, but in my community conversations, I'm always advocating for college education, and that's why. Thank you.
And I'll just say, I love public service, and I think that community colleges are such a wonderful, they serve such a wonderful cross section of our community. And I really love that it's a nonpartisan, non-class. It's all comers are really able to connect with and be served by the community college. And I so appreciate being able to be a small steward of that resource. If you have any other questions for us, we can do like a lightning round.
Yeah. Well, I'm
1
taking
minute.
it. That was only a 1 minute, so maybe in a few words. I'm really curious from your perspective, what are the maybe some unique challenges or challenge that this board faces in the next 6 months to the next year? Like top of mind, this is where a lot of your focus is right now. And the person who would step into this role would be participating in that.
I can go real fast. Budget and stewarding the bond process.
Yeah, and I would add for you, Ryan, that on top of the obvious money issues that are always there, right? We are now under an assault for our very vision of how we are, right? We are here to serve everybody, regardless of who or what they are. And now it seems society is picking how that works, and we will not bend. Not for me, right?
And I agree with you, Kathy. Absolutely. It's budget and to be able to focus on what our priorities are and stay there.
I echo. I think that's the biggest thing that's facing our college right now, and colleges across the state.
I would agree with that too. I don't know what does our president want to jump in here?
Well, I'm still just touched by all your reasons for being on the board. Ryan, if you didn't see it, it's a fantastic board. I mean, really dedicated to students and student success and making sure it's there. So I feel pretty fortunate to work under this board. I would probably agree. I mean, making sure that we're fiscally sound so that we can continue to move forward and accomplish what we need. The bond, I would say, if I were to add anything, we need to, and you alluded to this, thinking about things like AI and the rest, we need to make sure that we're preparing our students for the next 5, 10 years in areas that we don't even know yet what those are. What Wade was talking about are big distractions that are really keeping us from doing the work that we should be doing. And that's, if I get frustrated at all, it's like we need to stay focused on our mission and where we're headed. And some of these distractions are challenging to do it. But it's great work, and the mission work the board is really clear on where we need to head, and that makes a huge difference.
Great. Well, I think on that note, we will thank you very, very much for spending this time with us and sharing
right.
your thoughts and we will we'll leave right now, and I can't tell you when we'll hear from us, but it should be very soon. So thank you again, and we'll say goodnight.
Okay. Well, thank you. And either way, thank you all for your service to this community. I really appreciate it. And I'm even more excited as a citizen to hear from you directly, your passion. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Good night. Okay. Well, we are very fortunate. This is maybe not going
Mm.
to be real easy. I mean, I think we have two rather amazing candidates before us right now. I'm not quite sure how we guide this discussion. Does anybody have any advice on that? I will take it. I mean, do we want to pros and cons of each candidate, or maybe go around and say who people felt the strongest for? Would that be a good way of going about it? Or Kathy, do you have a?
I wanted to ask you a question first. You
Yes.
said before Irene got here, you said that you were not feeling well. So I want to check in and see, are you feeling up for continuing this discussion at this point in
Yes,
time?
yes, I
Okay.
have. It has been a miraculous healing. I think it had
Excellent.
to do. I had
The power of being with us. Thanks.
oh, you
Praise
are
democracy.
amazing people, amazing people. Yes,
Healed,
so
healed.
yes. So, I mean, I may be, but I would not, I can say I'm feeling better. I don't know how my mind is doing. So you all could be good judges of that. And so maybe somebody else would like to make sure that we stay on track here and answer the questions that we need to answer, but or have a suggestion for a process.
You know, the candidates are very clear in their strengths, in my opinion, right? I mean, Catherine obviously brings to us, right, community and political, clout in some regards, given her position and where she is. She is a valued member of the community already, right? She's proven that through election and everything else that she's done. And then you've got this guy who's got a tremendous amount of experience doing what this institution does, right, from the library side of it. So he knows what we do. He already knows those kinds of pieces of this. And yeah, I would just echo Jane's original comment that this, we are lucky to be able to make that kind of choice, to be honest. Okay. So I will just leave it at that. I mean, there is not going to be a wrong decision that we make tonight. Okay, let's just put
That's
it
what
that
I
way.
was going. Yes.
So I'm good to join in when we're done, right? It won't be like, geez, it's just like, no, we're all good, right? So I just think I think it's gonna be hard, to be honest, because
I
of
do
how good
too.
those candidates were, to be honest.
Yeah, there is no wrong door.
Yeah.
And I was after reading the two applications, I was so overwhelmed kind of by Catherine's and thinking, oh my goodness, look at this. And I wasn't sure that Ryan's was quite as strong, but in hearing him speak, I that changed me a lot. It changed his energy and his commitment to this, his understanding. But both of them understand um what we do and understand our values and understand the processes. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of l- you know, learning, or not, well, there'll be a lot of learning, of course, but I think that they will be hitting the ground running when both of them start. I think they
There
know what
is,
we're
yeah.
dealing.
Is there any value, Jane, in asking the question? I don't know that it's necessarily important because, it is what it is with the candidates, but certainly, Aaron served a purpose and he had a mission in himself in this process, but more importantly, he had a role amongst us. Is there something about one of these candidates that we want to see fill this board? Oh, if you're a baseball team, you're looking for, you want someone to do cleanup hitting, or you want someone to pitch, or we all have our strengths, right? We know what they are. Is there
Mhm.
something that we think that one of these people would bring to complementary to the things that we now have? I don't know, right? So
I I also think I was listening for some thoughts about Aaron, and I think Ryan mentioned AI and the things that we need to do to be ready, to be nimble, to be able to look forward. And that's what I was listening for, because I know that's the a slot that we need to fill, and we have to really hone in on that. I think they are both absolutely outstanding candidates. And whatever we do, wherever we go, we're not going to be going wrong. And I think they're willing. They both have had a multitude of experiences, so the door is open. Jane, is up to you.
Thank you, Joe. Kathy, did you have?
Uh, I would say, um, it is very hard. And it's not one of those, I'm not saying that to be polite. These are both excellent candidates. So I guess the way I've been trying to think about it is ways to parse out differences. And I I th I think we have some lived experience in both of them that is really valuable. And I appreciate Ryan's honesty and being open with his childhood experiences in the foster system. That's not something he should feel he has to talk about. And so I'm really grateful that he was open about that. And I think that that is an experience that is not uncommon amongst our student body. And I also think that Catherine's experience as a first generation college student, that is a powerful thing. And that holds a lot of weight in my mind. I also, um, we don't talk a lot about when we're thinking about the plethora of student needs. Our conversation doesn't focus very often on disability or differently abled students. And I haven't previously, and I think this is a reflection on my own lack of consideration more than anything else, but I haven't previously thought of that as a gap.
Hmm.
But now I am kind of, oh yeah, no, actually that is a voice that is absent from our board. Um, so I'm just noticing that because that is also a place where I do think community colleges really, really are they're accessible to people who have great needs in a way that no other institution can be. Um, and I think that it could be really valuable to us to have someone who has that direct lived experience of navigating a child through something something as difficult as an invisible disability, as she put it. So
Well, I wanted to say I missed Catherine's interview, but I've known Catherine for as long as I've been on the board. I think I met her just before I ran for this board. And I feel so privileged we only had two applications and they were both so out of this world amazing that I'm just like, I cannot decide, to be perfectly honest with all of you.
Tim, did you want to, I saw that your thing is off. I
No,
noticed,
this is your guys' call.
right. Yeah, I know. But also if your observations by you would not, I think, well, I don't know, maybe we can't.
I don't know if I
we,
have anything to add. They're
Yeah.
both
yeah,
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
we
I think
really shouldn't
No.
ask.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just saw
I mean,
that.
we didn't want to put Tim on the spot. Tim does a good job of knowing not to answer that question.
Yes, good. Thank you. Thank you.
He's not gonna step in that one, are you, Tim? He's
No.
gonna go, whoever you pick is great.
Mhm.
I noticed that on the application on Ryan's CV that and I should have asked this, that there's 2 years between being Director of Academic Technology Services and Innovations at University of Portland and then the Executive Director of Trinity Education Foundation. He left one in July of 21 and began the other in May of 23. And um, is that concerning to anybody? And boy, I should have asked that.
We don't know. I mean, it would have been in the middle of COVID or his
Yeah,
life. He said he had a
21 to
child.
20.
Who knows?
That's true. It would
He's
have
the
been.
primary parent. We don't know anything about this gentleman's private life, right? But I know that I wanted to quit the world in 21.
Yeah.
So did
Yeah, I've got
And
plenty of weird
I
gaps on
couldn't get
mine.
off that ship,
Okay, that's fine. I would too. I would too. So, but
If I
good.
could take a 2-year break in the middle of COVID, I would have done it. But yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think that as we look toward making our decisions, we look at what our board
Right.
really has a need, maybe not immediate, but a need down the road. We have Catherine,
Mm.
who has a multitude of experiences with the government community. She knows how to navigate through those processes. We have Ryan, who also knows how to get through the processes with what's needed out there for students. So what we as a board need to do is, what do we consider to be the most needed strength for us right now?
Yeah.
I mean, and we lost Aaron, and he was really looking for something down to prep Wilsonville for AI, and that's what he was really focused on. And I know we have Kathy here, Kathy Heiser, who is very good with the technical government relations things that are going on around us. So I think as a board, we need to in our heads think about what would satisfy us the most right now.
I think
I just have to, I adore Aaron. I miss him. I have a personal bias against legacy commitments, doing something in honor of someone's memory.
That's not what
I
I meant.
think that can hold organizations back in some ways, and I'll own that is my weird thing. But I had to say it. Not that I don't think AI is important, but I have a reaction that I have to name about doing it in someone's name, in their memory. As much as Aaron cares about that, and I think you're right, that AI is crucial for the future. I don't think he would want us to um, do something in his memory, I guess. I'll stop talking because I don't know that I'm even making.
Yeah, that's that's good to say, but that's really not what I was mentioning. That was what he was working on in his area. Uh, so maybe there are some other things, avenues that he was working in, but I think the Wilsonville area is a very technological area of town, and it's coming through. So I don't know whether Ryan has those expertise or Catherine has those expertise, but I'm
Right.
just saying as a group, that's what we as a group need to decide. What do we need right now to help us to stay together and to move forward?
Do all of you do? I'll just ask this. Because remember I helped to move us forward in the budget committee.
Yes, you
So I'll
did.
just throw it
Thank
out there.
you.
Do all of you think that you are in a place where you might feel like you would be willing to take a vote tonight? And if so, I would ask Jane that we do so without bias, so we don't go around the room. That's usually a bad idea, that we might write that candidate on a piece of paper and reveal it or something, or do we want to wait and have more conversation? And Katie, let me ask you this, right? In the absence of Rob and well, I guess it's just Rob now, right? That's absent, right? Is there any place that his opinion matters for us, and do we wait to get that involved? And he wasn't here for the interviews. Is he just, out of
Yeah.
luck at this point, right? I think
I also wanted to add, I don't know if someone maybe could help clarify it and guide us because I was stuck in traffic for the first interview.
you're right.
I feel like I don't even get a vote. I don't know. I don't know what the best parliamentary process is for this moment.
I'm not sure of that either. I would think
Because we could wait and let Irene listen to the tape at least, right? It's recorded, right, Katie?
Yeah, everything is recorded. We are streaming live on YouTube as well. So Irene could go back and watch the first interview. Rob could watch both the first and the second interview. You guys could wait to take a vote. The only thing that I'm just going to mention, which is up to you guys how you want to do this, is maybe waiting for you helps to make some different things in your mind, make solidify certain things or bring things up for you to think about even more. Or we're waiting and then that person doesn't actually, watch the video or do have any vote or doesn't really, doesn't have it's up to you.
That's
I'm
what I
not,
was going to say. Yeah, it's your guys' call around process about how you want to do this. So
and I don't know that waiting, at least I know personally how I would process this. I don't know that my waiting and hashing it around too much, I mean, thinking too much more about it would make a difference. But I might just forget everything they said. No, that's not what I would do. But
We might, Jane. Yeah, you and me are like, well, what's going on?
yeah, yeah. So
What if
do people feel uncomfortable about, and now, and I don't know what to do about Irene. If you know Catherine, um,
She can
does
watch.
that change anything? I mean, does that, do you, I mean, she presented herself incredibly well and was very articulate and uh
Well, and I think her work in the county speaks for itself too. But how about this? Because I didn't listen to both interviews, you all vote, and if there isn't a tie, if there's a tie, then Wade and I listen and break it. I don't know. Is that just going to be weird?
Hmm.
You mean Rob?
Rob, sorry.
yeah.
Look at you. So sorry, Wade.
Want me to vote twice? I will. Sure, I don't know.
When is Rob coming back from England? Does anyone know?
Yeah, he's coming back on Thursday, so he would be available on Friday.
Okay. Um, well, we could wait until Friday. But tell me again how we would submit our votes. Like if we did take one tonight, how would we be able to submit one without?
Suggest, Jane, you write it on a piece of paper, and when everybody says go, we hold it up to the camera. Because
Oh,
I don't like the idea of going around a room. There's a
oh,
bias.
I see. Going to say, oh,
The
yeah.
bias, or you write it on a piece of paper beforehand, you get to reveal it because there's a bias, in my opinion, when you go around a room.
I think you're right. Thank you. I
There's a
wasn't quite
momentum
sure
that gets
how that
rated.
would
I don't
work.
want to feel, I don't want Jane to feel bad if I tell her no, or that kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
right, right.
What
I think
about
there's an inherent
Irene and
bias that goes on with that process. So
what about Irene listening to the other tape?
Well, how do
I could
people
just put
feel
it into
about?
the chat.
Go
Right,
ahead.
I'm not voting. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, I can step out while you guys vote. I can totally close this and not listen and you guys vote and come back in 10 minutes
Or
or when you text me to come back.
it won't take us that long.
Okay.
okay. Well, how do people feel then about writing it on a piece of paper and holding it up?
I think that's
Okay.
the
All right,
most
let's
fair
do
way to
that.
do it.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll skip out.
I
Okay.
have to get a
I'll be
pen.
back
I'll be
in
right back.
All right.
in 10 minutes, in 5 minutes.
Irene, I'll just put you in the waiting room and then I'll just put you back in.
Perfect. Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. In the waiting room.
So when she says go, that's when we go.
Well, once you've written it down, we presume you're not going to rewrite it again, right, Joe? You're going to show us what you wrote down, right? So,
No, I'm not going to show you.
yeah, you have like you'll show us a piece of paper.
Yeah, right. Why couldn't we have done this through chat?
You can. It's just we can do that if you want. There's a ways to do this so that it's offline. I just suggest that we don't go around the room and sort of ask people. I think there's a bias.
Okay. I like that. And this is, yeah.
Don't care how you do
So-
it, but you should be able to go into a room like we are or whatever, write your thing down or write it in chat, whatever, right? It's just as long as everybody else can't see it while you're doing it, right? So
But then we all go, okay, now reveal.
yeah, or you can just go around the room and you can just hold it up silently and just,
Yeah. Shall we hold them up? People
Yeah.
ready?
Are we ready?
Are you ready?
Is that what we're going to do?
Yep. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I can't
can
read
only
them.
see.
Super hard to read. Looks like
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
Hold yours up closer
you can
to the
ask us,
camera.
Katie, you can ask us to tell
yeah,
us.
it
to say
looks
on the
like
record.
Jade has Ryan, Wade has Ryan, Kathy has Kathy or Catherine McMullen, and then what's yours, Joe?
Can you not see it?
No.
no, can't see it.
Raise it up over
The
your
blur
eyes.
feature is working against us, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it?
Back it
No.
up. Put it up against your face.
Can you can't see my face.
Just
We
tell
can
us
see your
what it
face
says.
and put it next to your face.
It
Let's see.
says Ryan,
It's a-
doesn't it?
yes.
Okay, it says Ryan. So Ryan is the winner. So
Okay.
Irene comes back in, which I'm not really sure why we had her step out, because if we voted, we voted unless you guys.
Right. I'm not quite sure either, but
Either way, when I'm going to bring
Well,
Irene
I think
in, and I need one of you to make a motion if that's what you want to do and move forward with that. You need to make a motion to appoint Ryan, and someone needs to second it.
We need to
Anyway.
do that now.
I'm
Once
getting,
Irene gets back.
yeah, I'm getting Irene in here.
And I just want to say that there was absolutely no loser here, and
No.
and that was very challenging for me to see these people before us. I mean, they were outstanding. I thought when I first started this process, I had come into the night voting for Catherine, to be honest. You
I
know,
had to. I had to, Wade.
and
Clear. I had to. And I
it
hope
wasn't because of what
there's a
she
way.
did or didn't say, but he was a powerful influence for me in terms of his understanding what we're doing, right?
So Irene, are you back?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Well, the results of our vote were 3 for Ryan and 1 for Catherine.
Okay.
So Ryan it won. So and we all recognize that it was very very hard. And boy, and I keep thinking this too, and if I would really want to find some way that we could keep Catherine involved in the college.
There is no lack of involvement on Catherine's part. She
Right.
is
The
deeply involved in the
college?
college.
She
Yes.
comes to, yeah, she's at everything. She,
Okay.
Yes.
and we can certainly, I mean, you know, the foundation board's always one that comes to mind if you know,
Yes.
a formal role, but we can look at other ways to keep her involved. But I agree with Kathy. She's at everything, which is great. So
We should
Okay.
absolutely, though, Tim, reach out and offer her something to engage her energies into this institution. For
I'm
sure.
happy to follow up with her.
Good.
Katie and I need to talk anyway about next steps, but yeah, I'm happy to follow up and just say how can we include her more.
Yes, because she was amazing.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
Kathy, I know that you were passionate about her selection, and you had every right to be there. She was wonderful. Okay, and
Oh, yeah. Cool.
yeah, I mean, she was absolutely wonderful. I was taken back by both of them, to be honest, listening
Yeah.
to them. Reach out.
No, like I said, there were no wrong doors.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I mentioned before, and Irene, you weren't here, but we need an official motion to appoint Ryan, and then a second, and then we need to take an official vote.
All right, I move to appoint Ryan, right? As the
I'll
next-
second.
Now, do I run this as chair? I mean, do I? Okay. We have a motion and a second to appoint Ryan Ingersoll as for zone. What number is it?
5.
Five on the board of directors. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
I guess I'm abstention. I'm an abstentioner. That's
Or an abstainer?
I abstain.
You, okay, all right, so, but the ayes have it, and we now, Ryan Ingersoll has been appointed to the board.
Well, don't you have to
Great work.
offer it to you?
Okay, yeah,
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
yes, thank
Thanks,
you.
y'all. That
Thanks,
was a
everybody.
great
It's so good to-
process.
Thank you to my
Yeah.
colleagues for being so thoughtful. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I'm telling you, this is like being on heaven on earth for me, being with all of you. I'm not kidding, right?
Oh,
It's great.
wait.
Oh,
That's
You
amazing.
are wonderful people. I mean, to have such kindness and giving in a room, come on. There are a lot of
Yeah.
there are a lot worse things to do, even making a hamburger, right? Man, that was a wonderful thing.
That's a good
That kind
thing,
of
man.
and love for society and community, man alive, it's really good, right? Makes
Yeah,
my heart warm every time I go and meet with all of you,
It's a
right?
great board. It's a great board.
Yeah.
good.
Yes,
Thank you. It's an honor to serve with all of you for sure.
It
yes.
sure is. Yep.
And
Yep.
you're a great board.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what anyone says, you're a great
Yeah, no matter what they say,
Go
they're
Bulls.
wrong. They're all wrong.
And thank you, Jane, for leading us, by the way.
Oh,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah,
Thank you
hope
for
you feel
putting up
better.
with my. Yeah, thank you. I do. I actually do feel better. All right. So I guess we're done. Is that right? All right. Good night, everybody.